Unsyndicated presents Off the Board, the weekly gambling show. Hosted by Blake Majchrzak and Mike Iavasile.
Welcome. First episode. We are literally off the board. We're off the rails already. We're ready to go. Mike, how are you tonight?
I am doing great. And Blake, me and you and Sean, who I'm sure is going to be chiming in here in the chat here, have known that this is a year in the making. It was about a year ago that on a certain radio station, we started making our picks and, Barbecue Mike, which was a great intro. And that's where it all started. We've been talking about this since then. And here it is. And honestly, I hope somebody joins us. I've got a little surprise for any guests that come in and join us that I told you about. And I think, knowing you, I don't think that they're going to get some winners this weekend.
I think that there will be winners had. I need to put the drop in my little array here, and I just need to be able to hit I want winners. Every time the word winners is said, I just want to be able to play that. I love that drop so much.
It's all about cash and tickets, Blake. It's all about cash and tickets, and we're going to cash some tickets, even though, as I said it, I think I hate every one of my picks. That's a good thing.
If you hate them, that means they're going to do well. If you love them, it's never good.
Yep. So that's kind of my my superstition. I go in thinking I hate every pick, and I'm going to do all right. And when you take stinkers, you got to hate them.
Yeah, exactly. So we were kind of talking about this before the show. What makes you want to make a pick? What makes you what do you like? What makes you oh, I like this game specifically? What kind of makes you tick on that?
So this has been a long time coming. I was thinking about it today. I was getting a little sentimental thinking about this show, thinking about back in middle school when I was running. I don't know if you're old enough, Blake, but back in middle school, I used to run parlay cards where you had to pick 5 and the odds were on the back, and we would run those. And I started thinking about back then when I was picking, and I realized early on, I don't know anything. Yeah. And the more I think I know, and I'm like, look at this line. Hawaii's given 40 points. How can Delaware State not cover 40 points? I know that that's going to hit. When I was doing that kind of stuff, I wasn't successful. So to get into what my philosophy is I look at betting splits. Bottom line, as we were talking before the show, I like to be on two sides. I want to be on the side of the pro bettor, and I want to be on the side of the sports book, because those are the guys that are making money. So I go right to the betting splits, and I want the bet I fire on the fastest has the lowest amount of bets but the highest amount of dollars. Because once you see that, that's not Joe, Joe Public. That is a professional gambler firing on that. And when you look at a line and it doesn't make sense, like that Michigan, let's say, I'm just going to make it up. Michigan's only got 20% of the bets, but the line's moving towards them. How's that happening? It is because the books know who's making those bets. And when I see that, that's what I fire on. I don't look at who's got the better quarterback. I don't look at who's got the backup quarterback in. If that line has low bets, high dollars, and is moving in that direction, that is what I base almost all my bets on. Then the other one is, let's say you get Michigan again. Michigan's very popular, right? Mm-hmm. Michigan got 80% of the bets, 90% of the dollars. The line's going that way. This is what we just talked about. That sports book's got a liability. They need people to start back. I'm back in the sports book. There's way more. Have you ever heard of sports book closing because they lost money? No, they always win money. So that's my philosophy. Is I look at the betting splits, I see where the money's going, and I see where the line's moving. And that, Blake, is why I hate almost every one of my picks, because it's going against what my thoughts are. Right?
You're basically going against your gut.
Yeah, because I learned early. I don't know anything. Whether it's
none of us do.
even hockey. I mean, every time we'd get on the air for those hockey barbecues and stuff, I lost almost every one of those picks because hockey's one where I'm like, I can't get quite the split thing going. I can't get to where the professional bettors are. So I go off what I think I know, and I get demolished in NHL. But that's me. That's how I do it. I know I've heard you talk and trends and stuff, but let's hear, what do you think? What makes you fire on the bet?
I'm first of all, I'm a vibes guy, 1,000%.
Mhm.
I'm a very I go with teams that I find hot, or I'm total I understand the numbers. I get into it a little bit, but I'm so much more of a vibes guy than you are. And especially college football, I always have done well gambling on college football, not well, but good enough where I feel confident about it. But it's just I'm a volume better.
Okay.
I'm just firing.
Yep.
I'm not firing a lot on any specific game, but I'm just firing. And if I finish the weekend out a little bit ahead, I'm happy because
Right.
it's just the cost of entertainment for me.
Absolutely.
And I'm just firing on a bunch of games. I'm firing on and I love, and I know it's the dumbest thing. I love betting overs. I love rooting for points, and it never works out well. Just
Right.
firing on a bunch of overs, but I love doing it.
Well, because that's entertaining. That is where I found out I got caught, because I'm a Vegas guy. Used to go to Vegas. I go there for the AFC NFC championship or the Super Bowl for, I don't know, 15, 16 years straight I would go. And when I look back, I actually did kind of well, but I did exactly what I didn't want to do. I was firing on favorites and I was firing on overs. Why? Because it's entertaining. Who wants to take, like in the preseason? I think the other day I hit on an under 32. Who wants that? No one wants to watch that game, right? I mean, and one game that woke me up was the Rams and Patriots Super Bowl. I was out in Vegas. I want to say that was inching towards 60, if I'm not mistaken. That over, and I'm like, oh my God, that game is going over. What was the final score? 13-9 or something? 13-3.
Yeah.
It was one of the worst Super Bowls I've ever watched. And
I had that over too, by the way.
Who cashed that? The professional bettors cashed the heck out of that one. So I've learned on that one, though. I also think that me and you do have in common. One thing me and you do have in common is trends.
Yeah.
When I can find trends, and I'll go over some. So if there's guys out there, we got Sean here chiming in. What are the odds that Blake blows us out again and doesn't come over my house?
And he already knows the answer.
Oh, that's a minus 100,000 right there. That is a heavy favorite, which makes me very sad. I
already bailed. Did he tell you?
I know. Yeah, he did. I know. That's why
he's just trolling me in the chat.
That would be off the board. That would be off the board. But if we get some other guys in here chiming in, like I said, I've got a surprise out there if someone wants to chime in. But I've also got some. You're gonna laugh. I know trends make you laugh. They crack me up. I love reading trends, and I've got some trends if guys want to make some preseason bets. And they're hitting pretty good. They're hitting at about 60%, and that's unbelievable.
Isn't I've always heard, and now being able to talk to you about this, I've always heard preseason overs hit at 60%.
What's happened the last 2 years? The last 2 years have been all unders, and going into this week, I want to say it was something ridiculous to the I think only 4 or 5 games had gone over in the first 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, of the preseason this year. It was 12-2 or whatever the first week, and something very similar the next week. And that's why when we were talking, I think I could go back and check the text. I say, you firing on anything? And you're like, oh, I don't know. I like the overs. I'm almost positive that's what you said. And I'm like, oh, that sucks because I got all the freaking unders. I'm under. I am under. I went week one. I hate saying this because it's a total jinx and I'm going to mush myself. I was 10-3 in the first week. I had a real good first week of preseason. The second week I was in Canada, so I couldn't get it done. This week I'm looking. I've got these trends. I know what I would like. But listening to the talking heads talk about this, you don't know who's playing, who's not playing. It's
No.
unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
I have not fired on anything preseason. Nothing. I'm
Yeah,
just waiting. I'm waiting for week 0, and we're gonna get into some week 0 picks. My number one is college football. I feel the most
yes.
confident in it. I love betting NFL too, but the lines and everything is just like they know what they're doing when they're setting those lines more in the NFL than any other sport. You know that.
Yes, they do. Where if you can get in, I'd say I'm just going to say up to week 4.
Mm-hmm.
The first 4 weeks are where the professionals are going to make a killing. Then it slowly starts changing. The last 4 weeks of the season, you really don't see or hear a lot out of the professional gamblers because by then everyone's got the data, everyone's
Yeah.
got the information, and those lines get tighter and tighter and tighter. But in the first 4 weeks, nobody knows. And here's a perfect one. So let's get into some trends here. We're talking about the first 4 weeks of the NFL. So, how do you feel about these teams that don't play their quarterback in the preseason? Their first game is going to be week 1. How do you feel about that?
See, so as you know, I'm a huge Joe Burrow guy, and
Okay.
he didn't play last year in the
Yep.
preseason, and he started out rusty. And I
Yep.
feel like it does lead to teams start like quarterbacks specifically starting out a little rusty. And like
100%.
so going off that, like guys like Russell Wilson,
Yep.
like last year in Denver, he barely played in the preseason.
Yep.
I know his last couple years in Seattle. And I would always just in my brain, I'd be like, oh, Seattle unders
Yes.
because he wasn't playing in the preseason. I love it.
You think about one of the hottest teams people are talking about coming in are the Jets. Aaron
Mm-hmm.
Rodgers hasn't played a meaningful game
And
in
over a
over a year.
calendar year.
And his last year in Green Bay was trash, right? And
Yeah.
people are loving on the Jets. So here's my stat for you. Here's my trend for you. I believe the date is 2019, skipping COVID year.
Because
Quarter,
that COVID, because as we've talked about with Sean, as I've told him, COVID doesn't count. That year doesn't count.
yes. So quarterbacks that do not play in the preseason, and I don't have the list of them that have not played in the preseason this year, but there are quarterbacks. They are 17 and 16 straight up in week 1.
So there's a slight edge.
There's a slight edge, but you think about but what I get into is when I look at 17 and 16, who are the quarterbacks that aren't playing? They're your top end Stafford, the
Mm-hmm.
Rodgers, these guys, Stroud down in Houston. These guys haven't played. Stroud's
Yeah.
supposed to play this week. So you're talking about teams that are going to be coming in as favorites. So your favorites are coming in and they're only hitting at a 17 and 16 clip. That
Yeah.
is more fuel for the dogs. And when you get into week 1 of the NFL, I think a trend, if we could find it, and I'm sure we can somewhere, dogs are probably pretty big in week 1, especially you get like some
Yeah.
home dogs. Think about a quarterback that hasn't played. I don't care if it's Aaron Rodgers or whoever, going on the road week 1 playing a team. Come on. So that's that first little one to think about when you're going into that week 1.
What and okay, now I'm thinking about this from so Patrick Mahomes obviously played the week against the Lions, right? And they
Mhm.
play the Ravens week 1.
Yep.
Has Lamar played at all in the preseason? I don't think he
Nope,
has.
and
Did
which is
he?
unusual because
Yeah.
Harbaugh usually what did he go, 34 straight games winning in the preseason or something stupid like that? He's totally changed this year to where
Yeah.
he has sat a lot of guys, Lamar Jackson being one of them. So when I'm looking at week 1 and that line is moving towards Baltimore is a team, and I want to say I haven't looked at that line to know that I say that I know it, but I want to say it's edging on the 3 to 2.5 kind of range if you have that. But I would be looking at firing on Kansas City on that one. The only thing
Yeah.
that scares me about Kansas City is I think all the receivers might be in jail by
Jail. No, I'm looking it up right now. So just talk amongst yourselves, because somehow when I pulled up lines, it was just preseason lines, and now I
Right.
don't want those.
So we got Joe
Ravens,
here in the chat. What is it?
3
3.
consensus is 3.
So you'd be looking at that, like if that could at some point, I have a feeling that's going to tick. Probably it'll last probably 5 seconds, but that'll tick to 2.5. If you can get Kansas City under 3, I'm firing on that one. And I already told you, I've
It's
got
2.5 at Caesars right
boom.
now.
I would fire on that all day. Joe was asking if quarterbacks didn't play preseason, take them for the under on their passing yards first. 100%. That's if that's
Yeah.
a prop that you get into, I would be going under on all of them. 100, yeah, absolutely.
And like but what's weird is, so we're talking about this, but I also have in the back of my brain like how the Chiefs have started slow in the last couple of years.
Mhm.
Even though like Andy Reid has historically played his starters.
Yes.
So now I got fighting feelings in my head, and that's where like I said, I just go back to vibes, and I'm like, what do I think?
Yeah.
But
The vibe on that, how healthy is Kansas City? Last year, I mean, we sat there and we watched that game together, the Lions Kansas City game. Travis Kelsey's in that game. It's a different game.
Yeah.
So they're going to be healthy. They're going to be coming in, and they've all played. They've all done a little bit. You got Patrick Mahomes throwing balls behind his back, being Patrick Mahomes. Their wide receiver room, but again, you get into teams and quarterbacks like that. The Patriots, they rarely had a receiver, right? And Tom
Mhm.
Brady always won. Pat Mahomes is the next Brady. So when I find that on one of my apps, and hey, if that's what someone wants to present to me as my $100 free bet here that we'll be talking about shortly, I might fire it on that one. I'd take
And
Kansas City in a heartbeat.
and Kansas City also has Xavier Worthy now, who's Xavier Worthy's awesome. Like he's so fast, and him in that offense is just not fair at all.
Speed, that speed kills. And here we go. Sean's already on the over MSU we were talking about.
So, and I don't know if Sean saw this story. So, Aiden Childs, MSU quarterback, in like a press scrum yesterday, he said, if you bet, take the over. And it wasn't clear if he was talking about like take the over for the win total for us or take the over for the game. But since that point, according to ESPN on their betting app, ESPN Bet, 97% of the money wagered and 84% of the bets have been on the over. And that line moved up from 46.5 to 47.5 because of that.
They have to, like we were saying, that when that amount of money comes into the book on one team, they've got to level it out a little bit, right? So the best thing for that kid would be to come out and clarify what he meant by that, just to clear him, because the scrutiny's going to be on that line move. If he comes out and just lays an egg,
yeah,
the eyes are out. That's not good, especially when and what they'll look at. These things are so heavily watched and scrutinized. They look for an inordinate amount of money to be put somewhere that a game on it wouldn't be put like that, and then something to go sideways on that. And we just seen it in the NBA last season where a guy's he's in prison.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you got $1 million on his props and he's taking a tank. I mean, come on, what are we doing?
No, and like Joe said right here, we're throwing half a unit on the under just in case. 100% with that much money coming in on that.
Yes. Who's firing there? The people that are firing there are going to be go green, go white. That's what they heard. They're going to be doing that. It is public money going in there. So when you look at the splits of it, going contrarian, going against that public and firing on that under, because I'll let that go. That line will continue to go up if that much money's on it. And then I'll come in at the end and I'll sweep up that under. And hey, if I win, I win.
Especially with over a week until the kickoff.
Yes.
Or a week from basically right now. So yeah, that line will keep moving.
I'm surprised that you haven't heard something come out like a counter kind of comment about that to take the heat off that, because it's huge. I mean, People are getting suspended all over the place for gambling now.
Yeah. Well, as long as he doesn't have a login for the app, hopefully he's okay. Sean, you better might check on your boy over there. I told Sean this the other night. I think Aiden Childs is going to be awesome. Is there like, can you do, and you would know this better than me because I generally just stick to like spreads, over unders. I'll
Yep.
do a little bit of the same game stuff in the NFL, but really the college ones are so hit or miss. Like if they even have it available, like the rushing yards, it's usually only for the bigger games.
Yes.
But like, is there lines on like Big Ten rookie of the year or offensive player of the year, that kind of stuff?
I would bet if you go through enough of the apps, you're going to find some stuff that you'll get, Big Ten Player of the Year. I don't think you're going to find it in many. You're not going to have it in your DraftKings, FanDuel.
You got to do like an offshore or something like that.
Yeah, you'll find, or the William Hill tends to have some good ones from the shows that I listen to and stuff, that they have a lot of those. So I'll even go to them to look, because I love when you get into like the Super. I think I shared a lot of my Super Bowl bets. I love going nuts with that. The Super Bowl is a little bit different to where a lot of them offer that. But when you're talking, I don't think you're going to find that in too many places. Though.
With the Super Bowl, literally, you can bet on the coin toss. It's great.
It is something that it makes me so happy, and I can go back to again. I think it was my daughter was 2, so it was 2004. I went out to Vegas for my first Super Bowl, and Blake, and you're talking 2004, 20 years ago. So to what they have now is nothing. And I remember walking into, I'm not going to remember the sports book that I walked into, but it was the one that sets all the lines. My brain's killing me right now.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing it for the first time. And it was like,
your eyes lit up.
I bet you it was like 2 pages. My uncle, to this day, my uncle just moved back from Vegas this year. But until this year, because he's not out there, he would send me page by page the props. You're talking 20, 25 pages.
Yeah.
From 2 to 25 pages. I mean, it that's amazing. So when we get there, I mean, we're gonna have a show a day just to go over everything that we have. But
yeah, seriously,
we'll stick to right here.
So with preseason stuff, what is your mentality with that? Like win totals? Are you betting like Heisman? Are you betting NFL MVP? What do you do with that kind of stuff?
All right, so I will. They're just like you. That one, it's not as much my philosophy on game day as far as I track all week the betting splits. This is vibing. So this is where I will vibe. And this year I fired already on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're not going to like one of them, but I fired on 5 of them, and it was pure vibe. But just like when I'm looking at it, because I hope no one from work is listening, but I mean, I get into work an hour early, Blake, and I go through the betting splits. I'm going through my apps. I'm just looking for stuff. On my way to work, I listen to VSiN, and I'm listening to these professional gamblers. And as they mention something, I'm not kidding here. This is sad. I have a notebook in my car, and I will jot something down so that when I'm sitting there and I'm eating my breakfast, I look at stuff. So like I said, I put in 5 future bets. I know you don't like having your money sit there.
Mm-mm.
But I will, when I find something and I hit that vibe, I'm going to fire on something. Do we want to go over by 5? Or do we want to wait?
No, we can go over them. We can go over them. Like I said, so just real quick.
Yep.
I don't place a bunch of futures because like you said, I hate having my money sit there, and I'm a broke 30-year-old young man.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't afford to have my money sitting there. I need it. I want my money and I need it now. JG Wentworth.
I get it.
But but I still follow it, and I'm still interested in it because I think it's just interesting to see, because like we've talked about before, Vegas knows. Yes. I think it's interesting to be able to track how Vegas is projecting these teams out.
Yep.
and it gives me an idea of what's going to go on throughout the football season.
Because 100%, I like that you said that, because it's not, when you look at it and you look at those projections, that's just not gambling projection. That's sports. Like
Yeah.
I listen to gambling shows. It's a sports show.
Yes.
They know their sports. And so when looking at, hey, I'm going to take the Lions over 11 or whatever they are, that is not just, again, that is because they have sports knowledge and they've based it on something. So when I listen to it, it gives me a lot of knowledge of what's going on just in the sports world. But yeah, I'm on the opposite end, Blake. I'm not 30. I'm 53. All my money right now is caught up somewhere else. I don't even have any of my money. So me laying futures bets is absolutely nothing. So let's see what we got. Let's see where my vibes took me. All right.
Yeah.
The one that I told you about, my one of my NFL vibes was Keon Coleman, go green, go white, right? 25-1 for offensive rookie of the year. And Sean, I know you're here, and I know you're listening. This is not a Coleman bet. This is a Josh Allen bet. I don't like rookie quarterbacks in the NFL. And everyone, when you're talking offensive rookie of the year, all the favorites are quarterbacks. And I've already got a week 1 bet against one of these NFL quarterbacks because I don't like what rookie. Not that I don't like them. That's a tough job coming in as a kid like that and doing it. So I got Coleman at 25-1 odds. I was like, come on, let's go. Yeah. This guy could be their number 1 receiver by the end of the year. And Josh Allen has a good year. It's because he's hitting this kid for some catches. I liked what he did at Florida State. The guy was a beast at Florida State.
He really was.
When I saw 25-1, I fired on it. See?
Okay, real quick, just while we're talking about Buffalo, I was shocked when I was looking at win totals last night that their win total is still 10.5 though. Like, I was shocked at how high that is, because I feel like they're kind of in a rebuilding phase.
Yes.
But also that division is kind of trash.
Yes. It's questionable, isn't it?
Yeah, but I still think 10.5 is high, but I'm like, that's a weird line. That line stinks.
It's weird, but when you throw that 17th game in there,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like 11-6, boom, you've got it, and they can win, because I don't know. I keep hearing this Miami Flash. This has been going for a while now, and I don't get it. I don't.
They can't win in
that.
December,
right? Exactly. I just don't see that happening. You know, yeah, Tariq Hill's that's great. Tua, that's great, but I still would put it on 10.5 is a lot. And as I sit here and say this, my next bet is a win total. I'm really weird on win totals, because every year when you go through the schedule and you do, the Lions are going to be 10-7 because this, you don't know, because on that schedule, there's 3 teams that you think they're going to lose to that are going to suck. And there's 3 teams that you think they're going to cream that are going to beat them.
Yeah.
And you don't know which 3 it is. Every year, there's teams that make the playoffs. They're not making the playoffs. And there's at least 4 teams that didn't make the playoffs that are going to make the playoffs. And you just don't know who it is. So with that intro, we'll get into my second future. My second future is actually 2. I did this twice, Blake, because this is, the degenerate that
double
I am.
Down on it.
The team that I absolutely love, and my love for them grew in the preseason as it went along, is the Denver Broncos.
Oh, no.
I think Sean Payton has his quarterback that he can plug in there, and he can tell him what to do. You look at what he did last year, getting 8 wins with a decrepit Russell Wilson as a quarterback that he hated, and then just got rid of him. And at the end of the year, I don't even know who their quarterback. I could have been their quarterback at the end of the year. I got them over 5.5 at a -140. All right. I don't like that -140. So what did I have to do? I got them over 6.5 at a +165. Look, they've got a good defense. They have a nice offensive line that's going to protect is going to protect Nix. And I think that when Peyton has his guy, I like him. I do. I'm a Sean Payton guy.
Okay. I don't think we've ever talked about this. I hate Bo Nix. All because, do you remember this? It all comes back to gambling.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember his freshman year at Auburn when
Okay.
he played Oregon and
Okay.
he threw that last minute touchdown?
Okay.
I had Oregon. I've hated Bo Nix ever since that game.
And I should hate him. So this gets into a little bit of a futures talk. This is where we could go off the rails here forever. Getting in the futures. Why I love futures. You look at my Coleman bet at 25-1. Let's say Coleman comes out and rips it for the first 6 weeks. He's gonna go down to, let's say, 5-1.
Yeah.
Now I've got money in hand and I can hedge that. So let's get into the Heisman race last year, right? Bo Nix was all this talk. When Penix took off, Bo Nix went to 30-1. I grabbed Bo Nix at 30-1. He lost that in that championship game. I had a huge ticket. Now, but with that, I was smart enough. I grabbed Daniels and Penix at about 9-1. So I still ended up getting some money in there. But this is where I love to play futures. It's almost like the stock market, right? If I can get Coleman to go, if I can get the Broncos to start winning, I can hedge somewhere else. And again, I hate it because everyone I listen to, the Broncos are going to be they're taking the under on these on the Broncos. But I just think that if Peyton can get his little remote control quarterback in there and get him to do a few things, I think he can work some stuff out.
So what did you get? What were your odds on the second one? Plus 120?
Plus 165.
165
at over 6.5 to go 7-10. That's it. It's really, to me, it's still weird in taking these win totals with that 17th game. It gets crazy. So, but then my next future bet. This is going to fire everybody up here. You know, are the three guys that are in here watching this, Sean and Tim and the other guy here. I took Jared Goff, MVP. And on top of that, I had a boost. So I 100% boosted it. I got it at 40-1. So you listen to a lot of people, and the Lions are the love child. Everyone loves the Lions now, which I think makes us all mad, but they love them. And you're talking, I looked at, so they're 12-1 to win the Super Bowl. They're 5.5-1 to make the Super Bowl. Would you rather have that or 40-1 on Jared Goff? Because I'm telling you, and this is me and Sean had this conversation all the way to Milwaukee. If the Lions make the Super Bowl, Blake, it's because of Jared Goff, and he's going to be the MVP.
No, I agree with that. I can't argue that.
I couldn't. I was waiting for that one, but what I was waiting for was that I know every so often MGM throws me these 100% boosts, and I jammed it right on that and jammed it up from 20-1 to 40-1.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense. And for that, him, like, I like the way you're thinking about it. If you're seeing all the odds on these things for the Lions to, I love your thinking on it. It makes complete sense. I'm so over all the Lions slap stuff.
Oh, so on the side with my guy Randy Temple, I've got a ton of bets going against the Lions. There's a lot of things I don't like, and I think that's part of the fan in me, like saying like, man, I'm too hyped on them. I've got a ton of stuff on the side going against them, but to go with that one, a lot of people I'm hearing are loving these Green Bay Packers. I get it. But so I took on my next future was an exacta. The Lions to come in first, the Packers to come in second at plus 350.
I like that a lot.
I like it a lot. And because the one thing I know, and again, that gets into, I have a week 1 bet against the Bears, but this hype that I'm hearing about the Bears, I don't get. So they're out of it. Minnesota.
You haven't watched Hard Knocks.
No, I don't.
Well, if you watch Hard Knocks, you'd be in too. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's the Hard Knocks bump. We saw with the Lions a few years
Yeah.
ago. It
Okay.
like the Jets last year. It's the Hard Knocks bump. People see this team and they see all the behind the scenes stuff and they're like, oh, I really like their team camaraderie and I like this and I like that. Like it makes people get hyped up on these teams. It's just it's dumb Hard Knocks brain.
All right, so I like that. I when I saw that, again, this was another one. I listened to Beeson all the time, all day, throughout the day. Some guy was talking about it. I'm like, I like that, and I found it at plus 350. I'm like, I can take that, and it's a little pro lines. It gets more into my golf kind of thing. They can come in first. It's on there. My last one, Blake, you're not gonna like. You're just not gonna like it.
If this is what I think it is,
yeah,
I'm really not gonna like it because I have the opposite.
So I've got Michigan under 9 wins.
Okay, 9. I could because the majority of books have it at 8.5.
Okay. Yeah, I logged it in at under 9 wins. And it's a minus 135, so I paid a little extra juice for it.
Okay, but your odds of a push are really high.
Yes, because and again, this is one where I just go through the schedule. I mean, Texas, USC is going to be questionable. I've heard a lot of different things there.
USC's defense stinks.
Oh, they always. Washington, Oregon, Ohio State. There, you can find some three losses. You can find the losses in there. It could happen.
Do you want me to be honest? Do you want me to take my maize and blue glasses off?
Yes.
I can find 3. I can't find more than 3 though.
Okay.
I won't say who the 3 are, but because I don't need Sean bringing this back to me.
Right. And I mean, Tom here, he likes the over. So when I was also looking at it, I was listening again. I do not pretend to know anything about football. We want to sit here and talk hockey. I will pretend like I know hockey and I will talk it. I don't know football. I watch it. I can give you my feelings and my observations on it. The guys that know something, they're not high on their quarterbacks coming in and have them rated down really low in the Big Ten, and that's huge.
Yeah.
And at some point, this controversy, which they somehow won a national championship with all this hanging over their head last year, it does catch up to you. They are kids.
Yeah.
Right? And
I'm very scared about, I don't know, because the quarterback situation's still up in the air. I'm like, I keep going back and forth in my head. Like, do I want Alex Orji to be the starter? Because the problem is, here's the honest truth about Michigan. They don't have great receivers.
Yep.
Okay. If Alex Orji's the starter, it's another athlete on the field. He's not as good of a passer as their other options.
Yeah.
But does it really matter that he's not a great passer? Because I don't like their receivers. So it's like, I like them over 8.5. If you can get it at 8.5, I like the over because I think they're a 9 or 10 win team because I can't find more than 3 losses on that schedule.
Yes. And that's fair. It's not one that I'm high. It's one that I was waiting and I was watching and I was hoping it was going to bump up a little bit more and I could get like a 9.5 to a 10 or something. And it just wasn't going. And I was sitting there and I'm like, for the spirit of the show, I'm going to do it. I'm going to fire on it. We got.
You're just going to be mean to Blake, just like everyone else is.
No, if I said 4 wins, that would be mean to Blake.
That's true.
You're not even going to make a bowl game. That'd be mean. To have a little bit of regression, to lose what you've lost, let alone your coach and turnover and the contract. I mean, 9 wins. That's going to be a success. It really is.
Yeah, I still think their defensive line is like the best, one of top 3 in the country. But the problem is so there's probably 3 teams in the nation that can block Michigan. 2 of them are on the schedule.
Yeah.
Georgia, Oregon, and Texas, I think, are the 3 best offensive lines in the country. You got 2 of those teams on your schedule. I don't love that.
I am hearing a lot and reading a lot about Oregon, and they like everything that's coming about there. But again, we'll see. They're
Yeah.
kids. We'll see. We'll see. So
I know Dylan Gabriel's like really high on the Heisman odds too.
Well, yeah. Well, but the guy that's high on the Heisman odds never wins, unfortunately.
Yeah. No.
So you have to give it some time. But you fired on no futures.
I haven't fired on any. I mean, I still have a week, but I probably won't. But I do have some that I looked at that I do really like to give out to some people.
Yeah.
If they're interested.
I think they're interested.
So I like two that I really like that are smaller schools. UTSA under 8.5. UTSA got absolutely ravaged by the portal. They lost a bunch of talent.
Okay.
Franco Harris, their quarterback from last year, he's gone. I don't like their roster, how they've tried to reconstruct it. And 8.5 wins still is it's a high win total.
That's a lot.
So I don't like I think they'll be under. And then Ohio, it's the same kind of situation. They lost their quarterback. They've lost a bunch of players to the portal. I like their win total is 6.5. I like the under on that too.
And I like what teams have lost, and that you try. There's a guy, Steve Makinen, that's on VSiN that I follow, and he does a stability rating with rating teams from what they've kept to what they've lost, and it gets into coordinators and everything. And I have a bet on his stability rating. It's one of his highest ones. So it's just a single game bet, but that's a real thing. I mean, you look at the portal is just killing teams, and I don't think sports books and handicappers have caught up to the portal of what it actually means. So when I read Makinen's stuff and he's breaking down from a quarterback not this quarterback may have started 3 years somewhere else, but him coming into a new situation and a new coordinator coming in there also, and he starts dinging teams down, and that's how he makes his college bets. It's real. The portal is affecting what we're doing in betting.
Yeah, especially those like those American teams and the MAC teams that there's only so many players that are on that level that can play at that, SEC, Big Ten, ACC. There's only a couple of guys in that league. So when you lose those guys and they move up, it's going to bump your team down. Like I heard I was listening to a gambling show the other night, and the MAC, the way it's gotten ravaged, their teams have gotten ravaged by the portal. Yes. It's more everyone's just coming back to the same level, like Toledo and Ohio and all those teams. They're not leveling up like the middle of the MAC. It's everyone's just coming back to base.
Down. Yeah.
And then the other one that I really, really like, and this one's a strictly vibes thing, is Colorado under 5.5.
I couldn't agree more. There couldn't be a bigger hype train, and it's funny saying a 5.5 win is a hype train, but it's a hype train. I mean, you look at the hype after week 3 last year.
Oh my God.
The money that flew on them, they went from like 100-1 odds to win everything to at one point they were up there with everybody. There's no bigger hype train than the Deion Sanders hype train, and I love that one. I absolutely love that. And I love it so much. I may be firing on that when we get back. But as we get going here, I know we'll only have so much time, but the guys that are actually in here and interacting with us, what I've been saying is I told Blake I bought a stupid Lions hat online.
Not the one you're wearing right now.
Not the one I'm wearing right now. It's a little off color. It was just something that caught my eye. But with that came $100 free bet on Fanatics betting site, which I had no idea they even had. And so what I'm putting out there is if they want to start firing some bets out, I will grab one of their bets and I will fire $100 free bet on that one. And if one day I see them, maybe I'll buy them a beer. But I will put on there and we will track it as it goes, whether it's a one game thing. And I'll tell you what, the one guy that I would love to would be a Sean Belegian bet sitting next to this guy watching the Stanley Cup, and he's nailing exact scores, which were like 30-1 odds. Come on. This guy's
so if you have any picks
yep.
for Mike's free $100 bet, throw them in the chat. And whichever one we like the most, Mike's gonna fire on.
I'm going to fire $100 free bet on it. So when we're thinking about that, let's come up with some odds. I am not afraid. You're talking to a guy who last year had both of the kickers in the Super Bowl for MVP at 450 to 1 odds. Now, what
I
you're
didn't know
laughing,
that. I didn't
yeah,
know that.
you're laughing, Blake, but I'm telling you, how close was that to coming to fruition? If they
Yeah.
exchange field goals in overtime, they go field goal, field goal, field goal. One of those field goal kickers could have been in the talk for MVP.
It
mean,
was
they
always
set
it
the
was
record.
always but it was Mahomes before the game started.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But let's say San Francisco wins, right? On a
Yeah.
field goal. I mean, they set records. They're kicking distance. But anyway, so my point was, I'm not afraid to fire on something that looks totally ridiculous.
Yeah.
Jake Moody.
So do what before we wrap up here.
Yep.
It is one of the most glorious weeks of the year because it's week 0.
And we're having a barbecue, right?
Well, I won't be there, but you guys are gonna have fun. Week 0. You said you had 3 picks, maybe possibly 4.
Yes, 1, 2, 3. No, I have 4 because I fired on one right before we came on the air.
Okay.
Another one, which I couldn't hear enough about it, and then I just had. It's one of those Mike specials. I just threw on it. So we'll go over my week 0, then we'll go over your week 0.
Or
right?
do you want? Well, there's only 4 games. Do you just want to go game by game?
Okay, let's go game by game.
All right. So obviously, the first game is Florida State versus Georgia Tech over in Dublin, Ireland.
Yep.
What is your pick for that game?
All right. So I have a bet. I have it at under 55. I believe that this is going to be a run game. You've really revamped the Florida State offense. I believe they're going to be able to hammer the ball down Georgia Tech's throat. Georgia Tech's only hope to stay close in this game is going to be they've got to run the ball too. So I think this has got underwritten all over it. And when I look at it, it's one of those what I like to look at. It's only got 46% of the bets, 57% of the money. That looks like professional money to me. I fired on that under.
So did that, because when I looked at that line last night, it was 55.5.
Yeah, this morning it was 55.5 too that I saw. So I lost a half point. I'm not mad at that. That lines move, money comes in. But when I fired on it, it was everything that I added up to. I looked at it. I liked it. It was 46% of the bets, 57%. But so when I looked, I get to work about 7 in the morning. So about 7 in the morning, I had it. It was 10. It was 10 at Florida State was minus 10.5, and it was 55.5, which makes me. I wish I had that half point, but I'm still on that under.
It is back at 55.5. Not to ruin your day.
So again, 46% of the bets. Why is it moving down? Because we know who's got that money. I have a watch bet on that one. It was at 10. It's back to about 10.5, probably going to 11. Yeah. And when it was at 10, I was saying if that gets to 9.5, I'm hammering Florida State. So that's the only way I would take Florida State if it gets down to 9.5. It opened, I think, at 13.5.
Correct. 13.
13. So as it started coming, I think it was going to be a little bit of an overcorrection there. But so I don't have anything on the game itself. I got the total.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I like under 55.5 because I know it started way lower than that too. I was just looking at it. What did it open at? It opened at 51.5.
Wow, so
which is yeah.
I mean, but when the money's there, I mean, it hopped up a little bit. I like if I could make sense of everything, I don't know. I saw the 55 as I started prepping for the show. I saw it. I'm like, hey, I'm on it.
Firing. Montana State at New Mexico. Do you have anything on that?
Montana State, is that the one I just? Oh, that's the one I just fired on before the show, Blake. So that has 54% of the bets, but 66% of the money is on Montana State. And this is what got me. This is that one thing that they said, this is the biggest line ever the largest line in an FCS FBS game.
Yeah.
And you're talking about New Mexico State's over, under, and wins is 2.5. I don't think this is one of their wins. This is not going to be one of their wins. I fired at 13.5. I've got Montana State minus 13.5.
Disrespecting Bronco Mendenhall's first game.
I am. And not only that, but I boosted it. So I have it minus 13.5 at a plus 136.
So I took, or I haven't placed this one yet. The last I looked, New Mexico was plus 410 on the money line.
Okay.
If I'm going to fire on something, I'm just going to take the FBS team on the money line.
I can't agree with you more. I can't agree with you more.
It makes too much. Why is an FCS team favored by that many points?
Yes.
And Montana State's a very good FCS program. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
But if I can get the FBS team, and I think Bronco Mendenhall's a good coach. So if I'm going to take a flyer on something, it's going to be that.
Yeah. I can't argue it.
SMU at Nevada.
SMU at Nevada. So this is the game that I took on the stability line, where Steve Mackinnon does the stability as far as guys coming in, guys coming out. I'm not going to break it all down, but he had SMU at plus 11 over Nevada, which is the biggest of the week 0 lines. And he said 25 is not even enough points. It should be more. So I fired SMU minus 25. Literally on this guy, on his trends and what he says.
So my pick goes along with that, but I like it even more because I don't have to sweat it for as long.
Okay.
SMU minus 14.5 first half.
I like it. Yep.
Because you don't know how many guys they're going to rest in the second half. They're preparing for an ACC season. They're going to try and get done and get out of there. So I just want them in the first half, and then I don't have to sweat anything.
Yeah, and that gets into the next bet that I have that I fired on the whole game. I should have probably gone half, but let's go to the next one.
Delaware State at Hawaii. I don't have a pick for this game.
All right. So here we go. What is the trend? Hawaii is 12-2 in their last 14 week 1 games against the spread. Delaware State missed their flight out there. They're just barely getting out there. This line is flying. I think it's up to at least 40.5, if not maybe trending towards 41 from what I saw this morning. I got Hawaii, and I hate this bet. I am an under and a dog guy, Blake. You're going to get this during the year, but I've got Hawaii minus 39.5.
Yeah, it's at most places it's at 40. You can still get it at 39.5 at least.
39.5. But to look at your, at what point does it's the ex-quarterback is their coach? Is it Chang?
Yeah, Tommy Chang, I think it is. Yeah.
At what point, being a football guy, do they call the dogs off? How high does he let that killing get there?
So, okay. So do you not? But you don't like the total because the total's 55 at that point.
Yes, but that gets. I mean, you see all these teams. I mean, last year was a little bit of a different. I think Vanderbilt went out there and just absolutely. It was. I forget what happened. I know I lost my bet, but you don't. I just going on that flight after missing that flight. Delaware State might not score a point.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
That's when I had all of that, and I'm like 39.5. It's trending that way. Again, it's 62% of the bets, but 83% of the money. That's enough disparity for me to say that there's some professional money out there. I just hammered it, and I laugh every time I look at my ticket that says minus 39.5 because that is 100% the opposite of anything that I would do. If anything, I would look at that. So this gets into that philosophy thing. If that was, let's say, 62% of the bets, 65% of the money, I would have taken it the other way because I would have faded that public money that was fueling it. That's a lot of professional money on that one.
Yeah. So just real quick, since we got a couple minutes, I looked at week 1 games, just the Thursday slate. just because I knew we weren't going to be back until Friday, and I was like, I want to give some picks out for week 1 Thursday. So I have 3 games that I liked out of. I
Love
think
it.
there's like 8 or 9 games that day. There's a bunch of games that day.
That's when it's real, right? I mean,
Yes.
we're getting into some good games here.
But at the same time, like not all the lines are out yet because there's a lot of FCS, FBS, and they wait until like the last possible minute to put those lines out.
Yes.
So the 3 that I liked, Howard is playing at Rutgers. I like under 49.5 in that game.
Okay.
I just don't think Rutgers is going to be a high scoring offense. They're going to run the ball, and I don't see Howard scoring on Rutgers. I think Rutgers is actually going to be a pretty decent team this year. UNC at Minnesota. Minnesota's favored by 2.5. I like Minnesota in that game.
Okay.
I think UNC is just changing way too much on that roster. Obviously, and they don't have a first round quarterback this year, which is like the first time in like 5 years that they haven't had
that's
one.
That's huge. And I mean, that's one of those stability type things that when you look at it, that it take these first couple of weeks, Blake, this is when we can rake the books because they're
or it's going to go horribly wrong.
That's usually what happens, but hey, I'm staying positive here.
And then the last one I liked, and it's funny because we talked about I like their under for their win total, but I like Colorado minus 9.5 against North Dakota State. Because I'm just thinking back to last year.
Yes.
They're going to start out hot. Their starters are very good.
Yes.
They have very, very good starters. They have no depth whatsoever.
Yeah.
So in the opener, I like them because I think Deion's going to try and put on a show.
Yeah.
Because that's what he does.
I know. You see, this is where, as we get going, your NCAA, like I wasn't even looking there. However, I have looked and I have fired on 2 week 1 NFL bets that I'll throw out there real quick. And I don't need to get into anything, but I've got the Miami Jacksonville under 49.5. This is listening to a lot of professional gamblers and stuff and it's actually, it kind of bumped up a little bit, but it's I think it came back down to like I've got some points, like it's around 49. And then this was the one when we were talking about Green Bay and the Lions, and I don't like rookie quarterbacks, and I don't like what the Bears are doing. I don't like week 1 Caleb Williams giving 4.5 to Tennessee. Tennessee is going to be terrible. They're going to be terrible, but that's a lot of pressure to put on a kid, a rookie quarterback. And let's be honest, he didn't handle a lot of things well last year. So I don't know how that's going to go. I'm not saying he's going to be terrible. I'm not ripping anything, but 4.5 points week 1 is a lot. I got Tennessee getting 4.5 points against Chicago in week 1. So that gets into. So we got a couple weeks before we'll get there, and I'm going to pile probably about 10 more bets onto that.
You'll be spraying the board just like me,
as we know that. So do we want to give real quick? Do we want to give any love to our 4 listeners out there on some trends for this week's NFL preseason?
Just so you know, you're saying 4. We have 155 people watching us. I don't know if you can see that number.
I can't see that.
Yeah, we have 155 people watching us.
Well, 155 people that are out there. I'm about to lay some trends down here that again, trends are trends. But when trends catch your eye, they catch your eye. And there's been a real good one, and it's going by point spread here. So just bear with me here for a second. So dogs from getting 1 point to 3 point are hitting at a 60.7% rate since 2015, but even bigger, they're 14-4 this year. So when you're looking at the game and your team's getting 1 or 3, so this last week in preseason, that would be when I took these notes: Kansas City, Miami, Buffalo, Philly, Baltimore, the Jets, and Seattle. Pound them. Go to town if you're that ballsy. I'm not. This week is too much in there.
So many unknowns, yeah.
Yes. So, but now once you get past that 3-point dog, 3.5 to 7 point favorites are killing it at 55.8%. Not so good this year. They're 7-7, but overall they're at about 55%. you're looking at play Indianapolis, Jacksonville, San Francisco, Pittsburgh, Houston, Dallas, Tennessee, Denver, and the Patriots. All of them right there. Those are trends like when you get over 55%, you're getting into 60% kind of territory. I'm firing on some stuff like that. But for me, week 3 of the NFL preseason, which used to be obviously week 4 of the NFL preseason, is too unpredictable. I can't do it.
No, I agree with you 100%.
I can't.
I'm locked in on college football. I will be
Yes.
I will be at a family birthday party just on my phone watching Georgia Tech and Florida State.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm going to give you credit. You've turned me more on to, so like when we started doing the WJR stuff and we were getting, and you were firing more NCAA and I was firing more NFL, I was really forcing myself to relook at the NCAA and start and I really started betting a lot more last year because of you. So I will be firing on these things. I know we won't be back in time for the Thursday games, but trust me, when we come back next week, I'm going to have some NC2A bets here. Did we get anything in here as far as where I'm putting my and I don't. What do we have?
Think well, Tim gave some predictions. He said Rutgers 24-6, Minnesota 26-24. So that's not a cover out of Minnesota, and that's an under in the Rutgers game. And then Colorado 34-10. Those were some predictions.
All right. Well, how about we put it this way? Let's come back next week. That bet's going to be sitting there. Something's going to catch our eye because me and you you'll know it. Like our eyes will light up, and that you'll see me fire it right onto my phone, and that free bet will be going, and I'll be buying beers for everybody.
I love it. So and the plan is every Friday.
Yes.
Like I talked about this on Off the Air a little bit last night. I know, obviously, with your son's hockey schedule, there will be some weeks where we might have to pre-record it even earlier in the week, but we'll still schedule it to go live. I think 8:30 on Friday nights is kind of a good time.
That'll be good. Yeah, that'll be a good thing. So if I can't make it on a Friday, it's a good thing because that means he's dressing it, and I'm headed to Lindsay, Ontario. So so we'll do it on a Thursday, and my lines will be just as good. I mean, it presses me a little bit sometimes, but I'm not afraid.
Well, Thursday is always the funky day in gambling because that's when the limits increase.
Yes, well, the limits increase, but here's my thing: I'll make it by Tuesday. I know where I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm just watching it because, again, when you're looking at professional gamblers, Joe Public, he's betting on Sunday. Joe Public's not moving my line from Sunday to Monday. When I see that, I track from Sunday to Monday when that line moves. So I'll be all right by Thursday. I just might not get the best of it. Yeah. But so these guys know, and for yourself, when it comes down and we're taping or we're putting it out there and I'm saying my money's already on that. So I'm not going to sit there and then pull my money back or say I did it and then maybe Saturday change my mind. When we come on here, what I'm firing on is what I will present.
Love it.
Love it.
So to everyone watching, we appreciate all of you. Eric, what up? Eric's just sent like 65 chats in a row. So we appreciate everyone watching out there.
All of our chats. I love it.
We're going to be back next week with more picks and we're going to, we'll see how we do on these week 0 picks.
Yeah, you're tracking them, right? You got the Google, we've got a Google Sheets. We're doing it. So there's no hiding it. There's no hiding what we're doing here.
Unless it's going really bad, and then I'll be hiding all of my picks.
I won't, because it'll all turn around. And what I like better about this and what we were doing last year is I think both me and you, as we start talking, we know overall when we're doing 5, 6, 7, 8 games, we're doing much better than having to do that one highlight game. When I have to pick one game out of a pack of games, I'm not that good at that.
Like I said, I spread the board. I just spray and pray.
I have a feeling that by the end of the year, our wives might be going, "You did what? How many games are on that spreadsheet?" So we may have to edit that from some people.
We might just have to delete it from the internet. All right, Mike. I'll see you next week, man.
Absolutely. I'm gonna miss you tomorrow, bud.
All right.
Peace.